Hey there, welcome to the Hot Slice Podcast. This is the podcast brought to you by Pizza Today magazine, where we like to talk all things pizza business. I am your host, Denise Greer, and I'm rocking it solo because this is a very special episode because we are talking to mentor and mentee in the industry. And I think it's going to be a great one-on or two-on-one conversation about how people are really shaping the industry by being mentors and helping other folks out. So with us today, we have Pete Raskovic. Raskovic? Did I pronounce that correct?
Raskovic, yeah. Raskovic.
Raskovic. Raskovic. And he owns Bentley's Log Cabin Pub and Grill there in Hollandale, Wisconsin. And then also on the podcast is John Arena, the famed pizza man himself. You know what? People are still talking about your keynote at Pizza Expo the previous year. Like we are still talking about what you said in your keynote. So welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks. It's an honor to be here.
Absolutely. So let me preface this to say that Pete sent me an email and he was very excited to talk about his business and how John Arena helped him really shape his business and bring it into a new light. So Pete, tell me a little bit about reaching out to us and just really what you wanted to share.
Okay. Well, just to let you know, I was born and raised in New York City, like John was, and moved to the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, in high school. And I met a woman in 1992, and we wound up in Wisconsin 20 years ago. Moved back. She lived out in the east with me for a while, and then we moved to Wisconsin, and it was tough where we were. We're about 30 miles southwest of Madison in New Glarus, Wisconsin. And it was really tough to find the pizza I was used to. It's just a different style pizza here. A good pizza, but it's a different style that I was used to. Not the New York style. So I've been in the automotive business and racing all my life. I was an IndyCar mechanic part time for AJ Foyt for a few years, and we
As
have
a
our own race.
Hoosier, I recognize that. I'm a born and raised Hoosier, so Indy,
Yeah,
yep, got
right.
you.
So yeah, so after I'm 59 years old and I get five children, and my wife said to me, there was a tavern for sale, and she said, "Why don't you buy it and make New York pizza?" And I said, "What the hell do I know about New York pizza other than it tastes great, and I miss it." And she said, "Well, then you won't have to when you do go back every 2 years, you won't have to load the car up, the SUV up with coolers and bring back 20, 30 pies, which we froze and which would be gone in a month, you know." So I thought about it, and a friend of mine, Joey Emberdino from back home, said to me, "You gotta, you've got to see this guy, John Arena." And he's like the godfather of pizza. And watch this video. And I watched the video, and you know, I, I love, I do love cooking. I cook mostly Italian food, but not commercially. I didn't. And I reached out to John, and he called me back. I couldn't believe it. He actually called me back. I was sitting outside my dealership at, I don't know, 7, 8 o'clock one night, and phone rang, and it's John Arena. I'm like, holy smokes. So that's kind of where it all started, right, John?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Um, you know, I've always put it out there that if anybody had a question, they could call me. And once in a while, somebody takes me up on it. And I'm always excited to do that because it's usually somebody that's new to the industry and needs some guidance to get started right. And I think us old timers owe it to the industry to give back and
I
to help
love
people get off on the right foot.
I love that. And John, I think it's really funny that people are always so surprised when you return calls or anybody that's in the industry. Because I know I talked to Tony G and he said the same thing. He was like, people are shocked when I reach back out to them, but I really want to help folks. Do you think that that is becoming even more in our industry? Like just the veterans just reaching out and helping out the new operators.
I think if you could turn back the clock 40 years, you'd see that that was really, really rare. This generation of pizza makers, they're a little more accustomed to it because of people like Tony. And, in my opinion, if Tony answers people's calls, we should all be answering people's calls.
Yeah.
Because that's like if somebody's a Sandlot baseball player and they could call up Mickey Mantle, or whoever the great baseball players are of today, and ask
Yeah.
them for batting tips.
Yeah.
Calling Tony and getting your call returned,
Yeah.
pretty special. But
Yeah, that
that's
was
always been the spirit, and I think over the years, largely because of Pizza Expo was the catalyst of all of that. You had this exchange of ideas, and you had people that were willing to share their secrets, whatever those secrets happen to be. And of course, when you go to Expo, you realize that everybody's got pretty much the same secrets,
Yeah.
and um, and it's been better for everybody. If you look at the quality of pizza now compared to what it was 40 or 50 years ago, the
Mhm.
skills of the pizza makers now exceeds anything we could have imagined years ago.
Absolutely. And I love that. So Pete, you brought him in, and what were you hoping that John would be able to do for you and your pizza?
wow. That's a big, pretty
Because
much like,
first, I need to understand what German pizza is.
oh, German pizza.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, so the German pizza is something that I just thought would taste great. It has sauerkraut, Wisconsin. It's Wisconsin. They love brats.
Hmm.
Uh, and back home, there was a place called Mrs. Steak Shop, and they had pizza, they had German pie, and they're long gone, but they had raw onions on it, which were a little bit harsh, but they had raw onions on it and sweet banana peppers. So I made that. And it's really funny. This just shows you how great of a guy John is. I made the pie. I sent him a picture. A couple weeks later, text me. He's like he has to ask me. Come on. He
Yeah.
says, "Hey, can I? I'd like to make your pie, but I want to make some changes to it." And I'm thinking, "Oh yeah, sure, that's great." But obviously, he doesn't have to ask me. But that's how humble he is. And he came back and made two amazing. I still am blown away by it. Two amazing changes. He took the raw Spanish onions off of there. I'm sorry, the sweet Italian onions off there, and put the pickled red onions on,
Hmm.
and then did a brush on the crust and put bagel everything seasoning on. And
Yeah.
something that he's a visionary. I mean, I still, when I think about that, it just blows me away how he took what I thought was a pretty good pie, and people think it's a pretty good pie, and took it, you know, from good to great. And my mom always used to say, when I was a kid, good is the enemy of great. Good is the enemy of great. And John, that was amazing, John. I still, as crazy as it sounds, um, it's just, I'm still blown away by how, he can look at something and say, hey, I think this will make it better. And it doesn't make it better. It makes it exponentially better. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy.
That's
I think
awesome.
that's something that you learn from going to Expo also. When you look
Hmm.
at when you're in one concentrated place for 3 days and you see all these people, all these very good exponents of pizza making, and you start to see them all side by side, and you say, well, what makes one good and what makes one great? And it always comes down to just a couple of tiny tweaks
Hmm.
between good and great. There's just a small step. You see it with Tony Gemignani all the time, and there are others too. But to me, all roads lead back to Tony.
Yeah.
And you see that he'll take something that's the simplest thing. Giulio Adriani is like that too, where they'll just make one little change or two little changes, and it becomes something that's extraordinary. And you
Yeah.
have to keep asking yourself, what is that one little thing? What is that one thing? It might be something, the way they handle dough or the way they use the oven, or this one little ingredient that adds something to it. And if everybody did that, their pizzas would be so much better. If they were all willing to look at it critically and
Hmm.
say, what's the one thing that I can do that's going to take this a little bit step further, and be willing to do that, be willing to make that extra effort, find that extra ingredient, or find that person that can teach you something that you didn't know before. Making that phone call that everybody else is afraid to make
Yeah.
can take you from good to great. And I'm sure Pete saw that in his racing. People that are consistent winners, They
Mhm.
It
leave
was
no stone
it
unturned.
was like
They're always
it was
willing
like
to
Roger
take that
Penske.
extra step.
It was like Roger Penske called me back. You know, when John called me back, it was like I got a phone call from Roger Penske. But yeah, I mean, it's so being involved in racing all my adult life. Actually, before I was 18 with my neighbor's team, and haven't gone to work at high levels. Um, I said, John, I said this. I mentioned this to you. This industry, the people take the time. I mean, it blows me away. Yep, the good teams they help the other teams out. Okay, that's what it's about. But just well, John, I can't say enough about how much you mentored me across the miles. It's been phenomenal, and the people in this industry have just been phenomenal. Tony Gemini, you mentioned Tony. Um, Never met Tony. Text him a couple times on direct messenger on Facebook. He gets back to me, and I'm like, oh wow. So it seems like it really seems like it's no different than racing the young teams that are coming up, or the new teams, I should say, because I'm not young anymore, but the new teams that are coming up. Um, if they showed hard work, dedication, and just a dogged determination to succeed, and not for money, for passion, you know, um, we'd help them. Why wouldn't you help that team? Why wouldn't you help make them better? Because as I always say, people think competition, even in our little town. We just bought a new location that I'll tell you about later. But even in our town, you can't have. I had the neighboring guy on the subway there, and I talked to him yesterday. He's like, "Oh, he goes like you're going to compete against me." And I said, "No, different. We're doing a pizzeria and wings, and you have a subway. I bought a piece of equipment off him, and I said to him, I said, you know, you can't have a race with one car, and that's the bottom line. You can't have a race with one car, and if everybody works together, it just you know it can be an amazing event. And that's how I look at this. I'm looking at this as this whole pizza journey for me, and it's a journey. I don't think it'll ever be a destination that I'm going to arrive at. I think it's going to be a journey to try to get to that destination that I believe is going to be, it's going to keep moving. The destination is going to keep moving forward, and I'm going to have to keep moving forward. But yeah, John, if I could share something with you, Denise.
Mhm.
So John helped me. It was Wednesday nights, wasn't it? Wasn't it, John? Wednesday nights, I would make the dough, and then Thursday, he'd say, "All right, Crystal Pete, call me back Thursday night when you're ready to make a pie, and we'll make a pie." I think it was Wednesdays, but for about a good month and a half, and about a half a ton of dough. I remember that specifically. Um, I'd make the dough. John would, I'd write everything down. John would say, "I want you to make the dough this way." Well, one particular night, I made the dough, and John told me to mix it 18 minutes. So I mixed it 18 minutes, and I said, "All right, portion it out, and call me back tomorrow night when you're ready to make a pie." And I said, "All right." So I portioned it out. Next night, I came over there, let it set at room temperature for a while after I got done with my work. It was probably 7, 8 o'clock at night is when this all kind of went down these nights. And he said, "You ready to make a pie?" "Yep." "All right." So, all right, I'll get at it and we'll show me. I want to see the finished product tonight. So I did. Did not get far. The dough was like a big rubber band, like a big rubber ball. And I'm pulling it out, frustrated. I'm like, "What the heck is going on? What the hell's going on?" And I'd stretch it. It was just like it had memory shape.
Mhm.
And so I called John, and I was kind of embarrassed at that point. I called John. I said, "John, I can't. It won't stretch. It's like a big rubber ball. I mean, I'm pulling it, and then it just tears when I get frustrated with it." And he said, "Well, tell me, what did you do? This, that. Yeah, I did that. How long did you mix it for?" I said, "18 minutes." Which, remember, you told me to mix it for 18 minutes. And he goes, "Oh, that's your problem." I said, "What?" "That's your problem." He goes, "You mixed it too long." He goes, "You overstrengthened the gluten structure." And he explained the science behind it. And he
Yeah.
said, "Now you'll never make that mistake again. Throw it away. We'll see it start next week again over." And honestly,
Teachings.
that was, yeah, it was, it pretty much went down like that. And John did different things like that with me. Not a lot, but enough to really. It was like a boot camp. I'll be honest with you, John. It was like a boot camp, and um, I still. You're right. The best way to do that kind of stuff is, in a tactile fashion. I learned from that. I will never forget that. This is what happens. So yeah, it was great. It was
Denise,
great.
let me add to this that it's totally selfish because the way I
Yeah.
look at it, someday somebody that was trained by Pete is going to come in my store to my store and fill out a job application.
Yeah.
So if I spread good seeds out there, I'll get some good fruit back eventually.
Absolutely. That's a wonderful way to look at it. And I like that you create teachable moments, John. Is that something that you're finding this common thread on what people need to learn when they're reaching out to you? Or is it kind of unique for every situation?
Everybody's different, but the one thing most people have in common is they have to actually experience it to understand it.
Hmm.
And you can tell them in theory, you know, now that 18 minutes that Pete came up with, that number came from his head.
Yeah.
But if I told him, that's not, from somebody that he read about or whatever,
Hmm.
and it's naturally the mix time is dependent on the type of mixer that you're using, the type of results you want to get,
Yeah.
what your method is, and I wanted him to understand that,
Yeah.
and that's one of the most common things that people do wrong. So sometimes when I'm teaching somebody, I'll deliberately let them do something wrong
Hmm.
so that they can experience firsthand what happens, and those are the lessons that seem to stick with people.
And Pete, you're
Yeah,
saying that
yeah,
that's
maybe,
definitely it.
maybe whatever it was, whatever that number was, I don't know why 18 minutes sticks, but it was, and I knew when we got done with it, I knew because I could tell by the tone of your voice, you got uh, just got it was a learning moment, a teaching moment, and yeah, I mean, I was an automotive instructor for a good 10, 12 years, and you're right. Some people, there's five, six different learning styles that we've identified, and some people just we can't do. I can't do rote memorization, reading, and lecture. I need that tactile component, tactile cooperative learning,
Mhm.
and I mean, for John to do that, and John, at times, I wouldn't give up. And I had a whole bunch of failures, and I was getting frustrated. And even when, yeah, you even had some nights when went live. And I said, what the hell is going on? And John said, well, just, keep at it. You'll get it. And we figured stuff out. But it's to the point now, and I know everybody that's, experienced in a business is going to laugh, but it's to the point now where I could take the dough out of the mixer. And as I'm rolling the dough balls, I could feel it. It's a good
Yeah, it's the
mix.
feel.
Performance Food Service is proud to deliver high-quality products, innovative technology, and custom operational solutions to restaurants of all sizes across the country. The flagship division of Performance Food Group, with deep roots in the restaurant industry, Performance Food Service has been the exclusive distributor of the Roma family of brands for more than 65 years. This signature relationship has allowed Performance Food Service to become a leader in the pizza and Italian segment of food service nationwide.
I'm Genevieve Ruby, a fifth-generation dairy farmer here in Humboldt County, California. Did you know that 99% of California's dairy farms are family-owned? And we're proud to sustainably produce the milk that goes into quality cheeses you use to create your delicious pizzas. Thanks for helping make California not only America's #1 dairy state, but the leading producer of mozzarella too. We hope you enjoy this podcast.
It's crazy. When I started, I didn't know, but John, I can't say enough about how this new location we're buying. People are loving our pizzas. And quite frankly, I love to go out there. I kind of sneak out of the kitchen and I ask the people if so what do you think? Like last Friday night, John, I asked everyone else, I said, so how's a pizza? It was a four topper, and they said, oh, this pizza was amazing. And I said, really? They're like, why do you sound
Surprised?
yeah? And I'm like, well, uh, we always want to get better and better, and um, John's helped me to the point with our new place, naming our new place. We had some names, and John, didn't, gave me his opinion on them, and said to my wife, and she said, "You better listen to the experts on this one." And we did, and we are, and it's just I can't. I think anybody getting into the pizza business or any business, just you have to have a mentor. I've had a mentor in the automotive and racing,
Mhm.
business. And, John, I refer to John as my pizza mentor. And that's the bottom line. And just, again, the stuff that he's always there. I mean, I got hundreds and hundreds of texts, and he can be busy, you know, and he'll get back to me in a couple minutes. And so,
And John's a
yeah,
very busy man. I don't know how you have time, John. You're such a busy man, but you always have time to help out others.
You make the time for the things that are important to you,
Exactly.
and I think it's important not just to me personally, because it's gratifying to help people, but for our industry. This
Hmm.
industry has done so much for me, and you have to give back. You have to be willing to look for that person like Pete that has just something that you relate to, something exceptional. Every once in a while you meet somebody in your life that you say, okay, I understand this person. I understand where they're coming from. And you could hear from the first phone call, you could hear the sincerity in his voice, and he wasn't very experienced. I think he was really at that point where he didn't know how much he didn't know,
I'll be happy.
you know, and sometimes you say, like, I could help this person. I could do something for them. And you're not thinking about what's in it for you. You're just thinking about being a decent person.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And
there's a fact out there somewhere, and it may have changed in recent years, but that upwards of 70 to 80% of the people that start pizzerias actually aren't from the pizzeria business, like are not coming in having worked in pizzerias. They may have worked in restaurants or they may have worked in other fields and came into pizza. So there's a lot of growing opportunity in pizzerias.
there really is. And the thing that's important about that, I think, is that in the 80s, the gene pool was getting pretty shallow in the early 80s because you had these third generation pizza makers like me that most of them, all they knew was what they had learned from their father, their uncles, their grandfather, whatever, and they
Yeah.
weren't bringing a new perspective to anything. And it was this kind of period where everything was kind of stagnant.
Hmm.
You know, even when Pizza Expo first started, and as you know, I was there in the early days.
Yeah.
There was the people that were coming were the seekers,
Yeah.
but there was a massive number of pizza makers around the country that didn't feel like they needed it.
Hmm.
And then over the years, as Expo developed and some of the really superstars started to emerge, anybody that had their eyes open and was paying attention saw that people were getting better.
Yeah.
And you better get out there and see what's going on if you want to be competitive. And that brought these people into the industry who weren't third generation and still doing the same tired stuff. They were bringing different perspectives. Pete's bringing a racing perspective. So
Hmm.
I can't wait to see what happens when he starts to really get busy and starts to apply some of the lessons that he learned in the pit, putting racing cars out back on the track. If he applies that knowledge to his pizza line, you're going to really see something. And that's what our industry needs. That's how we grow.
Absolutely. That's amazing. So Pete, what's happened to the business since John has been able to mentor you and helped you, get your foothold in the pizza business? What's happened with the
well,
restaurant?
well, we we're still going down that journey, and now we're trying to look at make a Sicilian pizza. In our current location, it's a little tiny town. There's 300 people in there, but we're getting people in from Madison, the big city coming in here. I was like, where'd you hear about us? It's no different than the car business. Where'd you hear about us?
Hmm.
Uh, and so we actually um, purchased another location in a tourist town, New Glarus, Wisconsin, right on a highway. Great location. It was in receivership. It was like a whiskey tasting house. It's only 6 years old. But they'll have 10, 15, 20,000 people on a day, one day, for festivals. And this town just has festivals every weekend in the tourist season.
Hmm.
So I looked at it and said, talk to John. And John looked at everything. I told him how many people were currently. And John said, you just can't scale the business way.
Hmm.
We can't scale the way we want to, just demographically. And,
Yeah.
we looked at that, and yeah, he's right. I mean, here he is, I don't know, what, 2,000 miles away, and looked at my area a little bit, I guess, and it was correct for the way we want to scale the business. It would be really tough there, but again, we love our little log cabin, and it's been a great start, and great people, great customers. So we want to carry that through to our new place, and you know, I guess we're growing. But again, I realize we're rookies, and
Hmm.
um, we're rookies, and without good people like John Farina, the Godfather of pizza, in my mind, this wouldn't be happening like this. And we have a long, hard road ahead of us. We know that it's not
Yeah.
going to be easy. But like John said, I kind of use everything like my analogies. It's all I really know, my racing analogies. Um, we're going to get out on the track. We don't go out on the track to follow other cars around, other race
Yeah.
cars around. We get on the track to win, but we also, we know that one car can't make a race.
Mhm.
And like John, no different than my racing years. You know, we're going to help other people down the road. Honestly don't feel we're qualified to at this point, but we're just. I'm trying to be humble like John. I've never really, when it came to racing or that, confident in what I do, extremely confident. But there's a difference between ego. I always say to people, ego is it's based on ideas of your own conjuring and your own self worth without a resume or experience to back it up. Hyper confidence is knowing that you know your business, and being extremely good at it, and having that track record. So I mean, I hope as my journey goes along that I can develop more into that confidence with the pizza business. And so far, I just it's triplet. I'm going to say it's easy when you listen to. I want to learn from John's mistakes and experiences rather than mine.
And you'll have a
Um,
lot to learn from because I've made every mistake you can imagine. And I'm
I
still,
love that. There's something, John, that I know that I've actually wanted to grab a hold of that you've done for a story in an upcoming issue, and that is on the whole idea of apprenticeships. And I know that you have taken people under your wing that are right now opening businesses, and showed them how to develop a pizzeria. How as we listen, and there are a lot of veteran operators out here listening, if they wanted to develop kind of, a mentoring or apprenticeship opportunity, how do they get started? How do they get started helping these newer folks?
it starts with naturally with your own team. Being able to develop people within your own team and nurture them and bring them along. As you know, in Las Vegas, I've been in Las Vegas 44 years,
Yeah.
and over the years, I've had some that really developed into extraordinary pizza makers and extraordinary business people, and gone on to not necessarily pizzerias, but other restaurants and even unrelated businesses. And then I've had people like Chris Decker, who's like my
Yeah.
son. I mean, Chris has been with me over almost 30 years now,
Amazing
and
guy.
now yeah. And you look for those like-minded people. You look for those people that you just click with, and that take it seriously, and then you bring them along step by step. And that method, I think, has to really be kind of receptive to the nature of the subject as well. It's individualized.
Hmm.
For me it's side by side, hand to hand, heart to heart.
Yeah.
So in Chris's case, side by side for almost 3 decades,
Yeah.
exchange. And then you also have to know when to let go.
Yeah.
You have to it's like raising a child. At some point, you have to take the training wheels off and let them ride the bike by themselves.
Hmm.
You have to know when to do that and how much to do it. Um, you know, and the relationship stays the same, but you're still as close or closer, but you have to let them go and give them room to grow.
Oh, that's
That's
so
kind that's kind of it.
That's so beautiful. I love it.
I,
And
I I think it starts with keeping your eyes open for those people that are like-minded and have good intentions.
mhm,
And you just nurture that. You plant. My dad always says it's like being a farmer. You plant those seeds. Not everyone sprouts.
mhm,
Not everyone grow. Not everyone grows up to be a strong apple tree.
yeah,
But some of them do. And then after generations, you start to see their seeds taking hold too. And that's what gives you your kind of, I would say it's kind of the closest thing you're going to get to immortality is
yeah,
teaching somebody to do something the right way and then watching them throw their stone into the pond and see where the ripples go.
yeah. And I can tell from Pete's face, if you're just listening, I can tell from Pete's face that he's got a bright face on right now to want to do that as well. So it's amazing how it moves forward through the industry, because Pete will go on and he's gonna do this as well.
Right. I mean, I see it, with some of the early mentors at Pizza Expo,
Hmm.
Tom Lehman, Big Dave, people that aren't with us anymore, but had that lasting impact. And I see people all the time at Expo
Hmm.
that would say, "Yeah, I learned this at a seminar from Big Dave
Yeah.
25 years ago."
Some of
You know,
Tom Lehman and Big Dave's articles on pizzatoday.com are still some of the most popular articles on our website. In fact,
that's how I look at it as
I'm
well.
going to do a collected article just to show some of the best articles that both of those guys wrote because they're still really relevant today. So it is
Yeah.
true. It is true.
Even people that are in unrelated aspects of the pizza industry, like John Goldsmith talks about, who I'm very close
Hmm.
with, completely different style of pizza, completely
Yeah.
different mindset when it comes to pizza. But he talks about Big Dave all the time, things that he learned at Expo from Big Dave.
Yeah.
Now, could you think of two people that would be more different in terms of their operations?
Yeah.
No, but still, what Dave said registered with him and lives on through John.
Absolutely. And those are two names that Pete may have not even have heard of because he's come into the business after those two. We've already lost those two, and so to be able to keep their memory alive through their knowledge is something that we want to make sure we do at Pizza Today as well.
And I think for them, it's not as important that their name be remembered, although I
Hmm.
think their name should be immortalized in the pizza world. But I think what was important to them was the work,
Hmm. Absolutely.
perpetuate the work, to live on through the great intentions that they put out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, okay, so I'm going to wrap this up really soon, but is there anything else, Pete, you wanted to kind of talk about, after reaching out to me?
Well, so I look at, my relationship with John as my pizza mentor, in the business, and I can say, it's transformed into more. It's not just about pizza. It's about, listen, this is the right thing. I would do this, and I would consider this, and he's really been a guide for me, someone that I totally look up to, and respect, and like naming our John. You want to tell him the name of our new pizzeria?
Sure, Pete's going to name his new pizzeria Petrosino's, which is a reference to an Italian American detective, the first Italian detective in New York City, who spent his career um, going after organized crime,
Hmm.
fighting organized crime, and protecting immigrants from the ravages of organized crime in Little Italy in New York.
Hmm.
And he lost his life. He was murdered while investigating the mafia. He took a trip to Palermo and was killed in Palermo. And I always thought it was sad that people didn't know him, but they know Al Capone, John Gotti, other criminals who are the worst examples of Italian and Italian American culture. And when Pete was looking for a name for his pizzeria, I threw that out at him. I said, "Wouldn't it be nice if somebody honored someone that did something positive for Italian Americans
Yeah,
instead of always reinforcing the idea of glorifying criminals?" And
yeah.
he was really receptive to that and took me up on it.
What was that name again?
Petrosino, Giuseppe
Petrosino.
Petrosino.
Oh, that's awesome. I think that's a catchy name. I like it. I wish you the best of luck, Pete. I can't escape this podcast without asking you, John, about your foundation. It's something that we heard you talk about at PizzaCon, and do you have any more details on your foundation that you
We actually
started?
have our first preliminary public event next week. For those who don't know, I have Parkinson's disease. I was diagnosed over 10 years ago now.
Hmm.
And I I started to notice over the years that my progression was much slower than people who don't stay active, don't stay engaged, don't continue to learn. And the foundation was set up again. Everything, all roads lead back to Tony Gemignani. Tony had this idea that our team, the World Pizza Champions team, could set up a foundation that would help people with Parkinson's. And our our idea for that is that we give them activities and give them a sense of place and value and an opportunity to contribute to their family life and learn new skills, because that's the right now that's the it's a degenerative disease that has no cure, and really the best that you can do is to stay active and stay engaged and slow down the progress of the disease,
Yeah.
which has worked very well for me. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously I see you and talk to you all the time. I'm still able to get around fairly well, and
Hmm.
I think it's important for people to give them that opportunity and also to be out there and be an example, because
Hmm.
unfortunately a lot of people who have Parkinson's tend to be self-conscious about it or fearful. There's a lot of anxiety that's attached to it, depression for some people. I don't have time for those things.
No,
So
no, you don't.
my creditors demand that I keep going to work, and I just think it's important to be an example if you have that in you, if you've been blessed with the good fortune of having that kind of spirit, to get out there and be an example to people and give them a sense of hope. So that's really what the foundation is about. And we create activities mostly because we're World Pizza Champions, mostly cooking related activities that keep
Mhm.
people engaged and give them a sense of reward that they're still capable of learning new skills.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, I thank you so much for you both coming on the show. Pete, I wish you all the best with planning out the new restaurant. It's exciting, and I can't wait to get an update on your journey. So keep us posted. And John, just we love you, man. We think that you do an amazing thing for this beautiful industry we have, and we're glad to be able to share what you guys are doing.
Thanks. Can I add one thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're a person getting started in the industry, don't be afraid, make that phone call. And if you're a person that's a veteran, answer that phone call. It's your obligation to the industry that nurtures you. Give something back.
I love that. That's amazing. All right. Well, you guys have a lovely rest of your afternoon, and I'll catch you at Pizza Expo very soon.
Thanks, Denise. I'll see you soon. It's good to
Thank
see
you,
you.
Denise.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Bye
John.
bye.